Hi, everyone. I just wanted to tell a little bit of a story and how an encounter at a pizza parlor changed my perspective on the Thunderbolts.
Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jacob Berry. Welcome to the Studio Jake vidcast, where I talk about all things pop culture. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and if you're watching on YouTube, ring that little bell so you get notifications when I post a new vidcast, and consider becoming a channel member. I just realized I said hi, everyone, twice. Well, now three times. All right, so I wanted to break this little story down because I realized something that even me being in this YouTube space, and you all know me, I tend to be a loner. I very rarely collaborate with people. I've collaborated with Chris from The Morning Mayhem, Kelly from Warrior Woman 91, and of course, I'm basically the co host of Jester Bell's live streams. And I count those three because those are the exceptions to the rule, but it's just not my thing. I tend to be a loner. I like to do things myself. But sometimes I do find myself swept up in sort of what is trending, what is popular, what is the opinion. Now, I make no secrets about the fact that I'm politically a conservative, I'm religiously a Christian, particularly Pentecostal, and I view stories very compassionately as a writer myself. And that's often why I slam the modern Marvel Cinematic Universe, what's going on with the comic books, particularly DC and Marvel. I also slam TV shows and poor adaptions. But what about stuff that hasn't come out? I tend to look at track records, right? So, based on the track record of the Marvel Cinematic Universe as it is now, and especially since Disney took it over, it doesn't seem to be going in a very good direction. Now, there has been some good stuff to come out post the Infinity Saga, like Spider Man No Way Home. And I know now it's real popular to rag on that movie too. But more broadly, there's this expectation that it's going to be terrible. And I had that expectation for the Thunderbolts. After all, it's littered with characters that I don't really even care about other than Sebastian Stan as the Winter Soldier. And that's pretty much all it has going for it. It doesn't really have a whole lot there, and especially after I saw Captain America Brave New World, which I thought was an okay film, but it was Falcon dressed up as Captain America in a Hulk movie. All that to say, I was not having high hopes for the Thunderbolts, which will feature, again, a bunch of characters no one cares about. However, my perspective on this changed a little bit, even though I was right along with people bashing it, calling the trailers lame, which I still think that. Don't worry, I'm not changing my mind on that. I still don't like the trailers. But I was at a pizza parlor recently, and after I did my order, I was wearing this exact shirt. Yes, I wear my nerd aesthetic out in public. This is not just a costume for me or for you beautiful people. I actually wear my nerd shirts out in public. And I had this one on, and when the guy brought my pizza to my table, the waiter, he says, "Oh, wow, you're a big Marvel fan too." And I don't want to get into it with this guy, going off on him. He's just a regular person that I don't know. I've never seen him before. So I said, "Oh yeah, yeah, I'm a Marvel fan. And I have to admit, I'm not really crazy about some of the recent releases." That's what I said. And he says, "Yeah, yeah, I feel that. I haven't really liked the Disney Plus shows, but I'm excited about Thunderbolts." And I was like, "Whoa, whoa." And I didn't telegraph to him this is in my brain hole. Because again, I don't want to go off on this guy. I don't want to bother him. He's just here trying to make a living. So I said, "Oh, you are you?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah, yeah." He goes, "I love Bucky Barnes, and I can't wait to see Florence Pugh step in as the widow. And I think it's going to be really great. And I really like the Sentry. He's one of my favorite characters from the comics. I'm happy he's going to be introduced." And he goes, "Are you planning on seeing it in theaters?" And I said, "Well, yes." And of course, I didn't tell him that I do this. I didn't tell him about my vidcast or shameless plug my new website, studiojakemedia.substack.com. But I went, "Yeah, I'm going to see it in theaters." And he goes, "Oh, yeah, I think it's going to be great. I think that it's going to just blow everyone away." And he goes, "Oh, and here's your pizza." And I guess he realized he had been there a little too long. So he handed me my pizza and he went about serving the other customers. And I had a realization there. Sometimes those of us who are terminally online get into a little bit of a bubble. And it's kind of funny because I made fun of Grace Randolph for this very thing when she admitted after President Trump won the 2024 election that where she was like, "Am I in a bubble? Am I in a bubble?" Yes, Grace, you are in a bubble. You have been for years. But I don't want to make this about Grace Randolph. I'm making it about me. And I realized I had kind of been on this online community bubble. Even when these movies fail, you can see that there are people who still like Marvel. They still hold on to it as a form of escapism and entertainment. So maybe Marvel has lost its broad appeal because it has bent to identity politics and political correctness and wokeism. That's no doubt about that. But there are people who don't see it that way. They just want to go to the movies to have a good time. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. And that really made me think maybe Thunderbolts won't be so bad. Now, I'm not saying it will be good. I'm not saying that at all. Every once in a while, maybe those of us in this online space, we need to take a step back and we need to do some self reflecting and wonder if maybe our own little bubbles can pop. This is also clear with the re release of Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. That re release did better than any Star Wars movies that have come out in the past several years or even the Disney Plus shows. And I find it interesting because the very people who crap all over the prequels, they're doing a little victory dance. Oh, people want Star Wars, they just don't want Disney Star Wars. But you were the very one who was saying the prequels are garbage. I love the prequels, by the way. Eventually, I'm going to do a video about why I like the prequels and why the critics of it are stupid. But besides the point, they were in their own little bubble, but they looked over at the Disney shill bubble. And despite being in the bubble of only liking the trilogy and maybe Rogue One, they looked at the Disney shills and were like, you don't get to take a victory lap over that. You were bashing the prequels not long ago. The people bashing the prequels are the reason we got Disney Star Wars to begin with. And I think it's worth us to do a little self reflection and to go about our days and look at our bubbles and wonder, maybe our bubbles have popped. And maybe, just maybe, there are people out there who like these things. And we should be okay with that. We shouldn't just go in expecting to have a bad time. We can go in with low expectations. But let's also go in and remember that movies are all about escapism. They're about being able to leave our sad little world behind so we can go on an adventure. And you know, if that adventure doesn't pan out with the Thunderbolts, I'll be the first to say it. But let's just take a step back and enjoy the ride while we can. If you liked that video, be sure to give it a like, share it out to all your friends, leave me a comment, tell me what you think, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring the little bell so you get notifications when I post a new vidcast, and consider becoming a channel member. That's a really great way to support me in the work that I do. But another way is to head on over to my new website, studiojakemedia.substack.com, and become a subscriber. You can read most of my articles for free, but you can sign up for a paid subscription and you unlock several perks. So I really appreciate it. Thank you in advance. If you would like some new books to read, check out my novels. I've got Cacophony, A Tale of Faith and Fear. It is about a group of demons who are battling archangels over the souls of a small Texas town. If you like action, the supernatural, and the paranormal, this is the book for you. If you're more into fairy tales, check out my series, The Seven Royals. Book 1 is All Good Things. Book 2 is Breaking the Stars. Book 3 is on its way. It will conclude the Stark Army trilogy, which features a group of your favorite fairy tale characters who are battling evil mages and their armies of vampires, orcs, giant lizards, and so much more, all to protect their home. You are not going to want to miss it. Check them out. Last but definitely not least, check out my fantasy romance novella, Blessed Child. It is about an elf princess who becomes pregnant with a human baby. This sends the elven kingdom into chaos, so her father, the king of the elves, hires a disgraced knight who is on the path of redemption to be her bodyguard. The knight and the princess form an unlikely friendship as they navigate the turmoil around them. It is life affirming, it is about courage under fire, and I guarantee you are not going to want to miss it. So pick up this one or all four at Amazon.com. Leave me a 5-star review. It really helps out small indie creators like myself. And if you want to read more of my works, my short stories and poems are published at StudioJakeMedia.locals.com. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.